Corporate Finance Practice Problem using Excel. We'll be calculating a bond purchase price, a bond sales price for a long-term sale, and the ROI or rate of return on that sale. Get ready, it's time to take your chance with corporate finance. Here we are in our Excel worksheet. If you have access to the Excel worksheet and would like to follow along, note that we are in the Practice tab as opposed to the Example tab. The Example tab in essence being an answer key. We're going to have the information on the left-hand side. We will populate that information into the blue area on the right-hand side. The information is bonds outstanding. We have the 1,000, the percent we're imagining on the bond that we would get from the bond itself, 14%, matures in 20 years. This is the information that we could imagine being basically on the bond. And then the present yield, we're saying, in other words, the market rate, present yield, the thing that would not be on the bond, 12% at the starting point. So we're going to calculate the purchase price at which we may want to purchase it. Then we'll imagine that we purchased it at that price. Then we'll think about time passing. So it's kind of like a story happens here. Time passes 19 years later, then the yield is going to be 16%, and we only have 1 year left on the bond because it was 20 before. Now it's at 19 years later, so we have 1 year left. And then we'll consider at that point in the future what would be the sales price, or what would be the price that we possibly would want to sell it at. Then we'll calculate the sale, and then we'll calculate basically our rate of return on it. All right, so let's start this off. We're going to imagine we purchased the bond first, and what would we purchase it for? So here's going to be our information for it. We're going to present value then at this point in time. I'm going to highlight the 12% down here because that's basically the rate that is going to be most common for me to mess up. So I want to pick that one up. We're going to present value the annuity portion and then the present value of the principal at the end of the 20 time periods. Annuity portion calculation is going to be P times 1 minus 1 plus R to the negative N over R. P is going to be the 1,000 times the 14%. 1 minus 1 plus R. R then is the market rate of the 12% to the negative N, number of periods, annual payments, in our case, 20 of them, over R, which once again, market rate 12%. We will put that into our format on the table format up here, putting P on the outside, calculating it as the 1,000 times the 14%, 140, that being the payments that will be made, 20 of them at the end of each year for our annuity payments. Then we have the 1. I'm going to pull that into its own column. I'm going to pull into the inside the 1 plus R to the negative N. 1 plus R, 12% market rate. Percentifying that, I'm not going to go to the home tab up top. I'm going to assume we're in the home tab from this point forward. We're going to go to the number group, percentify, font group, underline, and then sum up equals trusty SUM formula, sum formula, favorite form, EULA. And then we got the numbers again, percentifying it. We're going to take that to the number of periods, negative N, that being 20 in our case, negative 20. Underlining that in the font group, underline. We're going to pull that then to the outside. This is going to be the 112% shift 6 caret to the negative 20. Adding decimals, going to the number group, decimalizing it. Underline, font group, underline. We can then subtract out, this being the numerator. Once we've completed this step, this is going to be 1 minus that decimalized number. Then we add decimals to this one too, number group, decimalizing it as well. Then we need the denominator, because that's the numerator. That decimalized number is the numerator. The denominator is simply going to be the rate of 12%, to percentify it in the number group, font, underline it. We've got the num and the denom. So let's take the num equals the num over the denom, the numerator divided by the denominator. And then we'll go to the numbers group, add some decimals to that one. And then we'll go to the font group, underline it, and finally multiply the outer column, this being P times that big thing that we just got to in that whole process. Add a couple pennies in the number group, couple cents, 72 cents has been added. So that's going to be the portion of it that's the annuity portion. We then need to do the present value of 1, but before we do that, let's do this annuity portion a few different ways. So I'm going to go over here, do it the easy way, the magic way, the Excel way. Negative present value, shift 9, rate 12%, comma, number of periods, 20 of them, 20 periods, comma, and then the payment is 140. So there's going to be our formula. and enter. I know I'm doing this quickly, but we've done these a few times in the past. So if you want to see it a little bit more slowly, you can see some of the prior presentations for it as well that just focus on bond calculation. We're going to break the annuity down into the present value of 1 payments, 20 of them now. So I'm going to just do a series of present value of 1, 1, 2. We're going to go on down to the 20 payments, 20 years, grabbing Phil's handle for the autofill and dragging Phil's handle down to 20 periods. Then we're going to go to the Home tab and the Alignment Center, and then we'll grab our payment 140 and bring each one of them back one at a time. Not present value of an annuity, present value of 1. PV, shift 9, rate is going to be 12, comma, number of periods 1, because we're just doing 1 period out, comma, comma, not an annuity, future value 140. Let's do it again. Next payment's going to be the same. Why? Because it's an annuity, and that's what it means to be an annuity. Same payment. In other words, rate is going to be the 12% over here, comma, number of periods now 2, comma, comma, and then future value 140. Then we're going to say we had the last value plus the current value. I need to drag this down, but before I do, anything that's outside the table, that 12% in E6 needs to be absolute reference sized. Double clicking E6, put my cursor in it, F4 on the keyboard, $ before the E and 6, and enter. And then we can select these 3 cells, grab the fill handle, and drag Phil's handle down, dragging Phil's handle to 20 periods, and there's that 1046 auto-filled for us. So now it's rounded without the pennies here. I could then tack on one more payment and say, why don't I just bring that present value of 1? I'm going to auto-fill this down again, auto-fill. But I'm going to use, instead of 21, 20 payments. And this 140 I'm going to replace with the 1,000 that we would get at the end of this whole process, or pay or get, depending on whose side of the transaction you're at. This then would be the end result, the 1149. I'm going to make this yellow. So that's what our answer is going to be. But on the purchase price, we will then calculate it again, however, in a different format. So let's continue on with this. Before we get there, we're going to calculate this again using the tables. So let's do it with the tables this time. Tables, payment 140. Picking up the amount from the table, 12% and 20 periods, 12 and 20. 12 and 20. There's the 12 and here's the 20. 7.4694, 7.4694, 7.4694, 7.4694. Then we'll take the 140 times the 7.46194. And we get then the same number, 1054. Now, let's calculate the same thing, or let's calculate the present value of the 1,000 at the end of the 20 periods, the second part of the price. That's going to be this 1,000 using this formula. Present value equals future value over, we can think about 1 plus r to the negative n. We're going to use this 12% as the market rate. Making it green so I don't mess it up, choosing the wrong number. So there's the 1,000. We're going to pick up the 1, and then the rate is going to be that 12%, the green percent. Making it a percent, number group, percentify, font group, underline. Then we'll use the trusty sum function equals sum, shift 9. And then we'll make that a percent, numbers group, percentify 112. We're going to take that to the power of 20, to the power of 20. And then underline that, font underline. We're going to take that 112, shift 6, caret, in other words, to 20. Add some decimals in the number group, decimalizing it. Underline, font group, underline, and then we can divide, take in the num, the 1,000 divided by the denom, that thing that we just got to. And then adding a couple decimals in the number group, couple decimals since has been added. If we add then that's going to be the present value of that component plus the present value of the annuity we got last time, which is this 104572. Adding those two together, then we get the 114939. This number should match the yellow number 1149 that we got over here. So there we got a couple different ways. Now note that that number is greater than the 1,000 face amount. Why? Because the 12% rate down here is less than the rate that's on the bond. So if we were thinking of ourselves as issuing the bond, we would have kind of an advantage. We'd be saying, hey, look, you can't get a bond like our bond anywhere else and get 14% on it. You can get like 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell it at a premium. We'll sell our bond at more than the 1,000. Obviously, if we're on the purchasing side of things, we'd be saying, hey, I can't find a bond like that for 14%. I can only get 12% elsewhere. I'm willing to pay, a premium on a bond that's paying me 14%, right? And that's going to be the price that we're looking at. So we're imagining we're purchasing it for that price. Let's calculate this a couple different ways, though, to round this out. One, the magic way, Excel way. This is going to be present value, shift 9, rate 12%, comma, and the number of periods is going to be 20, comma, future value 1,000. So there it is again. Let's do it with the tables this time. Tables, next away. Tables is going to be the 1,000. Picking up the proper table, this being the present value of 1, not an annuity, still looking 12 and 20. 12 and 20, there's the 12, there's the 20, but this time, due to it being a separate table, we got 0.1037, 0.1037, 0.1037, 0.1037. Then we're going to take the 1,000 times 0.1037, once again getting to that 103.7, slightly different than the 103.67 due to the table rounding to 4 digits. All the way back to the first column now, column A, we're then going to scroll down to the second part of the problem where we imagine 19 years have passed. So the movie scrolls on and they just give us that line, time has passed, 19 years to be specific, and now we're going to sell the bond. And this time the market rate is at 16%. So what price will we sell the bond for? What price are we willing to sell the bond for after 19 years have passed? We got to do the same thing then with this calculation. Periods now 20 minus 19, or 1 period, 16% being the rate. Let's present value it. The annuity, we'll use the annuity even though it's only 1 year now, but I'll do it the same way as if it's an annuity. So we got the P times 1 minus 1 plus R to the negative N over R. Let's do that again. We still got the 1,000 times the 14 here. That's going to be 140. And then 1, and then we're going to do the 1 plus R to the N. So 1 plus R is now 16%. That's the change. Home tab, numbers, percentify, underline, font group, underline, trusty sum, function, SUM, adding them up, making it a percent in the number group, percentifying 116% then, taking it to the power of the number of periods, which was 20, but now 19 years have passed, so negative 1, right? One period, okay? So we're going to take it to the power of 1, which isn't that interesting. We'll underline that. This is going to be then the 116 shift 6 caret to the power of 1, which is adding some decimals, the 0.86202069 and so on. And then we're going to say the numerator minus the denom. Let's underline it first to get us, this isn't the numerator. This is the numerator calculation. 1 minus that thing. There's the num, although we need more detail to see it, so like action in it. There's the num with detail. And then we're going to get the denom, which is rate R, which is 16%, and numbers percent, and then font underline, and then we got the num and the denom. We're going to go to the outside, take the num, divided by or over the denom, add some decimals there as well, and then underline it, font group with the underline, and multiply out the outer column, that 140, the payment, times that thing that we just got to, that decimalized number, add a few pennies here, and we get the 120.69. So next we're going to present value the 1,000, but before we do, we'll do this one a couple different ways again. We're going to do this with a present value of an annuity, even though it's only one payment out again. Let's do it with that way though. We're going to say negative PV shift 9 rate is going to be 16, comma, number of periods is the 20 minus 19, or 1, comma, payment is going to be 140. And there's our formula. So there we have it. Enter. And then if we break this down into present value of 1, because it's really only one payment, it's the present value of 1 calculation, will be 1 payment is going to be 140, present value of 1, PV, we should get the same number. Rate is going to be that 16 is the rate, comma, number of periods is going to be, once again, I'm sorry, 1, just 1 this time. I was going to calculate 1 a different way, but I want to pick up that 1. Comma, comma, and then the future value will be 140. And then once again, we get to the same number. I'll add some decimals so we can see it a bit more clearly because it's only 1 payment, right? The annuity had 1 payment. So there we have that. And then we can add one more here though. I could add like a 2 or another 1, I should say. And let's copy the format of this cell. This should be there for you already. And then I'm going to pick up the 1000 and say, why don't I just present value this 1000 to the same way? Negative PV, shift 9, rate is going to be the 16%, comma, number of periods 1, comma, comma, future value 1000. And then if I add the present value of the 1 plus the present value of that 1000 at the end, that should be our answer, 982.76. So we'll get to it another different way though. I'm going to center these as well. Let's make that one yellow, as has been our custom for that last kind of component. So let's calculate this one more time using the tables. Let's do that with the tables this time. Making sure we pick up the proper table and the proper amount, this time being 16 and 1. So we'll just do it with the annuity table, but it's only 1 period, 16 and 1, 20 minus 19. So 16 is way over here, and 1, 0.8621, 0.8621, 0.8621, 0.8621. Taking that 140 times 0.8621 gives us the 120.69. Now let's do the present value of the 1000. So there's the 1000. Present value of 1 equals future value times or over future value over 1 plus r to the negative to the n, not negative n, to the n. All right, we're going to make the 16 green because that's the thing we're working with. And we're going to say this is going to be the 1000. And then we're going to pull into the inside 1 plus r. R now 16, the green number. That's why we made it green. That's what we're working with. Numbers, percent, underline, font group, underline, trusty sum function equals SUM, shift 9. Add in those two up. And then we'll make this as numbers and percent. Taking it to the power of 20 minus 19, 1 to the power of 1. And then underline, and then we'll say this is going to be the 116 shift 6 caret 1, and then add a couple pennies, decimals there, so we get the 1.16 in decimal format, underlining, font, underline, and then we're going to take the numerator divided by the denominator, adding a couple pennies, decimals. And then if we add that to what we got last time, which is the present value of the annuity, which is really only 1 period 2, because it's way at the end of the time frame, 120.69, then we can add the two components up. We get to that 982.76, that being the price that we're willing to sell for this time. 982.76 matching what we got here, the 982.76 there too. So that's a good sign because we did it like 2 ways, double checking ourselves. Now let's calculate this one a couple different ways. Let's do it with our present value. Notice it's a lot higher now, of course, because we're towards the end of the annuity, and this 1000 is closer to the current time period at this point in time, and the annuity payments are much smaller because we're not going to have a lot of annuity payments. So this one gets more valuable from a present value standpoint as we get towards the maturity date. So then we're going to say this is negative PV shift 9 rate 16%, comma, number of periods is now going to be the 20 minus the 19, otherwise known as 1, comma, comma, future value 1000. There's the 862.07 again. Let's do it with the tables. Table time. Making sure we got the proper table, present value of 1 this time. We're looking 16 and 20, 16 and 20 again. So we're looking 16 and 20. Wait a second. 16 and 1. 16 and 1. 20 minus 19. 16 and 1. 0.8621. 0.8621. 0.8621. Multiplying the 1,000 times the 0.8621 gives us the 862.1. Okay, so note that we're selling, then this is the price we got to down here. That 982.76 is now our price at this point. Note that it is less than now the 1,000 face amount. Not so much because 19 years have passed, but because we're talking now at the yield rate, market rate in other words, basically higher than the rate on the bond. So now we're trying to sell it. And we're out there trying to sell it, and people that are buying it are saying, hey, look, your bond that you're trying to pay or sell only pays 14%, and we can find similar bonds that get 16%. We're not going to buy your bond. And we go, well, what if we bring down the price to 982.76? We would be willing to sell it then for 982.76 rather than the face amount or par value of the 1,000. So now we have a situation where we purchased it then at the 1149.36, and we're selling it after 19 years have passed for the 982.76. Let's go all the way to the right and do that little calculation. Scrolling down, that's going to be our gain calculation. So I'm going to say, well, what will the gain or loss be? I'm going to pull these two numbers. I'm going to say the sales price is what we just came to. That's going to be, I'm going to go find, I got to go hunt for it a little bit. I'll find the yellow number because that's easy to see. That's what we sold it for, the 982.76. And then we purchased it for something larger, and that's way up top, the yellow number up here in L22. So if we subtract those two, then we actually had a loss here. We had a loss happening. And that's going to be underlined this one. I'll bring the loss to the outside. And then if I compare that to the purchase price, which was the 1149.39, then we could say that the rate would be the 166 divided by this amount. And I'm going to make that a percent numbers, percentify. I'll add a couple decimals, and this is going to be a loss. Let's add loss to that, percent profit, and let's add loss. So there we have that 1450%.